Hello, my name is Mike Ward. I'm the head of content for Informer's Pharma Insight products at Script, Pink Sheet, In Vivo and Generics Bulletin. And I'm here at the Biotech Showcase in San Francisco. It's the way that the industry always kicks off the year, so 2019 is looking an interesting time. I'm joined by Tim Wilson, who's the CEO of a relatively young UK company, IGEM Therapeutics. Tim, you're in the oncology space. Now, oncology is a hot area. Last year, venture capital invested about $23 billion, of which a lot of that was allocated to the cancer space. So how does a 18-month-old startup get anywhere near share of voice?
That's a great question. So we're focused on the development of a class of antibodies called IgE antibodies. And all of the currently approved antibodies for use in humans are IgG antibodies. IgE is a separate class which has evolved to help you fight parasites. And we think that the things that IgE does to fight parasites are very relevant to treating cancer, particularly solid tumours. So IgG antibodies have been very good at treating liquid tumours, leukemias, lymphomas, not so good at treating solid tumours such as lung cancer, for example. So we have an idea really which has been long discussed, but amazingly it's taken, IgE was discovered in 1966, it's taken all those years to actually get a single agent, IgE agent, into the clinic.
Because there are, I guess, safety issues associated with using IgE.
There's a perception issue that because IgE drives the allergic immune response, if that goes too far in some individuals, there's a potential for anaphylaxis, which everybody's heard of and is scared of. What we would say to that is, first of all, we don't expect to see widespread anaphylaxis for various technical, scientific reasons. But even if we do see some cases, you've got to remember these are very ill cancer patients, and anaphylaxis is readily treated with adrenaline. And these patients are infused in the hospital. So we think it's an overdone reason not to focus on IgE.
So, as you say, the discovery was originally sort of 1966. So, what has been the sort of the technical challenge that it's taken, over 50 years?
Yeah, it's that fear of anaphylaxis and also a lack of understanding about the immune response that IgE causes. Without getting too technical, IgG is very good at some things. IgG is your blood-borne antibody. So if you take a typical healthy patient, or healthy person rather, 75% of their blood antibodies are IgG. 0.01% are IgE. When you look at the half-life, or the lifetime of IgE in that patient, in the blood, it's quite short, whereas IgG is very long. But when you look at the half-life in the tissue, where 92% of all human cancers occur, IgE is much longer than IgG. And there's little things like that, little misconceptions all the way along since the 1980s that have led to IgE being left on the shelf. And we think IgG now is a multi-$100 billion industry, very successful, but highly competitive, not much room left to go. IgE is a brand new mine.
Yeah, so 50-year-old technology. So what is the patent estate look like around it?
We have issued patents on one of our IgE. So we have shown how to patent individual antibodies against certain cancer antigens. So just like IgG, right? So if you raise a monoclonal antibody against HER2 or another cancer antigen, if your amino acid sequence of that antibody is unique, there is plenty of unique biology associated with such novel agents to get protective IP on that agent. And we've shown that with our antibody called IGEM CH, which is against the melanoma antigen called CSPG4. And we have issued patents in the US, Australia and Europe.
Right, and the sort of the technology though that you're actually sort of working with that sort of underpins what you're doing, that came out of which laboratory?
It came out of King's College London. So our scientific founders are from KCL. The scientist is a lady called Sofia Karagiannis, and she's been a bit of a dynamo. She's been working in the field for 21 years, has hundreds of papers to her name. She's excellent. Just the sort of thing you're looking for as an entrepreneur CEO.
And what is the sort of status of the company in terms of its finance, but also the sort of the status of your programs?
So we have a number of programs. One is in the clinic. We have an exclusive option to an antibody called IGEM. It's an IgE which binds to folate receptor alpha, which is a well-known clinically validated target. There's quite a bit of competition there, but the agent that we've got in the clinic is a public domain antibody, so we wouldn't want to commercialize that one. We have a son of IGEM called IGEM-FR, which is patentable, and we will use IGEM-F as a clinical probe to establish that safety in man, which has been the concern with the class.
Right. So you're still sort of selecting the candidate, or you've selected the candidate?
Yeah, we're at candidate selection in that particular program. We have a second antibody, which I've mentioned, called IGEM-CH against CSPG4. That is now a fully humanized antibody, and we expect that to enter the clinic in about 18 months' time.
And how you financed the program so far?
So a combination of traditional venture capital. So we raised a £5 million Series A, just closed that in November, with 3 UK investors, Epidirex, Alsa Holdings, and the UCL Technology Fund. And then we've had good success with UK grant schemes, MRC, and particularly Innovate UK. So we've got net 2.3 million sterling so far in non-dilutive financing.
Right. And so what's the sort of the timeline for developments going forward?
Yeah. So the Series A now is to establish preclinical proof of concept for those products and get them into the start of CMC. That will occur, so manufacturing and preparation for regulatory filings. And that will require Series B financing, which will be at the end of this year into early 2020.
Right, okay. And at that stage, I mean, are you likely to go back to the same investors, or would you be looking for people who are not British?
Well, that's a very good point. So a major exit opportunity for our investors is a US IPO on NASDAQ, which I have done many of in my former life as a banker. And that's to be welcomed, I think. So we're looking for perhaps American or some European new VC money coming in for Series B, as well as our existing investors.
And I mean, you've been sort of looking at the industry. As you said, you were originally a banker. You then sort of switched over and got into sort of the corporate world. When you sort of look at how the industry has evolved over those decades, we're entering 2019. I mean, there seems to be some optimism about what's happening in the sector. What are the sort of the things that keep you awake?
Oh, I think in terms of challenges, I think for a small company in the UK like ourselves, I look at my American counterparts and I'm green with envy insofar as the amount of venture capital dollars available in the US is far more than Europe. Everybody knows that. Europe has got, and by that I'm including the UK, has got great science. It's now got good management. What I think has been a challenge in Europe is, there have been several challenges, but probably the single biggest one is a local stock exchange that you can rely on to IPO on. So our philosophy is to build a company that's valuable whether we sell it on in an IPO or we sell it on in an M&A deal or a licensing deal. If we look after the pound, the pennies, the pounds will come. Right? So we need good data from our programs now to tell people, to convince them that IgE is an asset worth investing in, and then the money will come.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You sort of said that the technology is over 50 years old, or the idea is over 50 years old. The challenge about getting a robust public market for life sciences in Europe 25 years ago
Yeah.
we were still having that discussion.
It's a bit disappointing to say the least, but then again, if you look at Autolus, you look at GW, several other examples, if you've got the goods, then you just go straight to NASDAQ because it's a global investor base now. I think, as you said, I've been doing this for over 30 years, and I've watched it go from the biotech industry, go from sort of a new shiny toy that people are struggling to understand. I remember having to explain what a phase 2 trial was to a major investor in the sector back in the early 90s. Now the level of expertise amongst VCs, amongst hedge funds, amongst buy-siders, investors in general, is just it's just orders of magnitude more than it was. So that's good insofar as it means the sector's grown and it's matured, but it's also, from an investment standpoint, it's slightly harder to make money insofar as you're less differentiated. I used to think I was somebody had one eye in the kingdom of the blind. Yeah. Now everybody's got 20/20 vision.
So, well, Tim, good luck with the...
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.